how's it going guys? Welcome back for another TOS video. So in this card review, we're going to take a look at the pre-power release form of the companion of Mythical Beast and the post-power release version of it. Right, so let's start from, we're going to go from water attribute all the way down to the dark attribute. Right, so what you can see right here on the screen is Pupero, right, the pre-power release on the left and the post-power release on the right. So we're going to do some sort of comparison, right, and then where's the difference after power release. Okay, so first and foremost, you can see that for Pupero, basically the active skill remains the same. I think this is the only card in the series that have no change in active skill, right? So basically, it gives, after power release, it gives Pupero a better leader skill, right? So before power release, it's just basically elf attack times 4. And after power release, you get the elf attack times 5 and then turn 3 water runes into elf runes at the end of each round by dissolving 4 more types of runestones, monster attack times 1.5 additionally. Right, so notice that the additional multiplier applies to Pupero herself only and not the whole team, right? Monster attack times 1.5. So I think for this card, active skill wise, I think it's quite a pity they didn't kind of like upgrade it. Right, so for an elf card, their attack stats are relatively low, right? So I'm quite disappointed they didn't give Pupero like a times 25 monster attack, right? Because I don't think it's gonna hurt that much, right? Because of her low, basically elf have very low attack stats, so giving it an extra like maybe a 25 times boost shouldn't be that broken, right, in my opinion. So after power release, it gives Pupero a chance to be a proper leader, right, as compared to the pre-power release form, right, in which you can only use her as a member, right? So having elf attack times 5, that's actually pretty high, right, on top of all the additional effects behind. So this makes Pupero a viable option to be a leader, right? So, and then mostly you can run like a mono water elf setup, right, with Cornflower or maybe Shuta for a very fast 3 CD convert, right? And then of course we have our joint operation card Jelly and many others, right, just to list a few examples. Right, so overall I find that Pupero will be in a very good spot, right? So a very viable leader. Probably I'll try to feature a bit of a Pupero team just for fun, maybe in the upcoming few videos. Right, so let's take a look at the next card. Okay, so next up we're going to talk about the fire card Suzuko. Right, so Suzuko have a very massive upgrade right after power release, so let's take a look. So let's take a look at active skill first. We have the upgrade from Strike of Fiery Claw to Strike of Fiery Claw EX. Right, so the pre-transformation or pre-power release, turn 10 runestones at fixed position from fire runes into enchant fire runes, right? Non-fire runes into fire runes. So it's kind of like an enchantment hybrid, right? Half enchantment and half convert kind of skill. Right, so on top of that, fire attack and beast attack times 2 for 1 round. Right, so back then it seems like a pretty good active skill, right, if you want to put it in like maybe a beast team or a fire team. Alright, so let's take a look at the active skill for the power release one. Right, so turn runestones at 10 fixed position into enchanted fire runes. Right, so this one, regardless of whether or not it is fire runes or not, is gonna be enchanted fire at the end of the turn. Right, so for 1 round, fire attack times 2, which is the same, right, but fire beast and beast attack times 3. Right, so it kind of gives a better multiplier, right, if it's a fire beast or just beast in general. Right, so this is good to put in like a Druid. So Druid is back in the game, right, if you want to put Suzuko in for a fast, you know, kind of burst setup, right? If you want to put a pseudo or a hybrid Suzuko Druid kind of setup, right? So let's take a look at the leader skill. So the pre-power release form, if the team consists of only beasts, team attack times 5, and upon entering the stage, active skill of all monsters -5, no superimposing, right, because that would be too OP. And after power release, we have, if it consists of only beasts, team attack times 5, so unfortunately no increase in multiplier there. So active skill of all monsters -5 as well. So the only difference is by dissolving a group of 5 or more runestones, team attack times 1.5 additionally. Right, so in my opinion, I find that this is very easy to achieve, and especially they didn't mention what kind of runestones, which means that this applies to whatever attribute is on your board, right? So as long as you dissolve like a group of 5, basically a full attack, you get that additional 1.5 time multiplier. Right, so if you're gonna run like double Suzuko, then that's gonna be 1.5 times 1.5. So overall, it's gonna be a pretty decent multiplier overall. Right, so Suzuko is one of the special cards out there, right? That is gonna get a hidden passive when you use a certain team. So let's take a look. Alright, so we have more upgrade for Suzuko. Right, so other than all the juicy active skill and leader skill buff, we have a team skill as well. Right, so change the leader skill to Blazing Blood in Souls Beast EX. Right, so if basically we have another upgrade in terms of the leader skill. Right, if you have a mono fire beast team. So if the team consists of only beast, team attack times 5, monster CD minus 5, so there's no change, and team attack times 1.5 additionally. So we have a extra skill right at the bottom. So attributive runestones that are the most in number possess effect of fire runestones. So this is very similar to Original Demons, just that we are running a fire beast setup in this case. Okay, so if fire runestones are most in number, fire attack times 1.8 additionally. Right, so Suzuko active skill converts fire runes, so we can actually you can potentially get this 1.8 times multiplier, additional multiplier, pretty easy, right? So I think Suzuko here is going to be in a very good place in the meta now, right? Especially with all the amelioration and stuff like that. So this card here definitely have a big and nice upgrade right here. Right, so overall I think that Suzuko is going to be one of the good power release. Right? If you are lacking like power release material and you're thinking which one to upgrade or power release, right? So I suggest Suzuko to be one of them, because it's very useful in terms of like joint operation. Maybe you want to fight the battle 19 or battle 20 of joint operation, you can actually bring in like a Druid setup and ally Suzuko for the addition for the minus 5 CD, and then you can actually take down the stage pretty fast, right? So my suggestion is Suzuko. So let's move on to the next card. Okay, so next in line is gonna be the new grinding meta leader, Hasa. Okay, so let's take a look at what kind of upgrade Hasa have. Right, so basically we have changes in active skill as well. Right, so before power release we get Earth attack and Beast attack times 1.5 for 1 round, and then after power release we get Earth and Beast times 1.5, but Earth Beast times 1.8. So we do have a slight upgrade, right, just for Earth Beast. So I don't think that the entire team is going to be made out of Earth Beast, right? But usually when you want to play Hasa, most of the time you should have Yun Yang, at least Yun Yang in the team, right? So there's going to be maybe 3 Earth Beasts there, right? So the more Earth Beasts you have, the better you can make use of this the brand new active skill, right? So leader wise, let's take a look. Before power release we have team attack times 4 and HP times 1.5, and then recover 0.6% of total HP each runestone dissolve. Of course, first batch only. Right, so let's take a look at the power release one. So team attack times 5, so there's an upgrade there, and then HP times 1.5, no change there. Alright, so after that we can see that we have the 0.6 total HP recovery, and then only first batch, and then also on top of that we have an additional effect. Earth runestones possess 50% of other attributive runestones. So effects can be superimposed, which means that Earth rune pretty much possess effect of all attributes, right? So if you play dual Hasa, the super grind setup, so you're gonna have a more faster and efficient kind of grinding setup, right? Because we have an upgrade from team attack times 4 to team attack times 5, so that's gonna increase the speed for your your grinding and your farming and stuff like that. Now on top of that, Earth runes possess effect of other attributive runestones, which means that Yun Yang is going to be a super MVP in Hasa team, right? Because it cancels away the hard runes and drops Earth runes, and Earth runes possess effect of other attributes. So this is going to be, I think Hasa can be a grind team, right? It can potentially be a burst team as well, right? Not forgetting we have Mufasa for his, you know, big and gigantic bursts every now and then. Okay, and we are not done with Hasa yet because Hasa have 2 active skill. Right, so let's go back to active skill number 2 and take a look at its upgrade. Right, so before power release, fully recover HP, dodge or attack from enemy for 1 round, where all runestones possess effect of earth runestones for 2 rounds, right, and then with a super long CD of 16. So I'm quite disappointed that the amelioration doesn't reduce the CD, right, because 16 is a very long amount of time, right, to get it up and ready. So the power release form, fully recover HP, no change. Dodge all attacks of enemy for 1 round, no change, right? So basically the part that changed is here. All runestones possess effect of runestones of the beast attribute in the team for 2 rounds, right? So that's an upgrade. That's a big upgrade, right? So in my opinion, so this is where you want to bring like maybe something more than earth beast in the team, right? So for example, maybe you bring like a water beast or fire beast, right? So water runes and fire runes also possess when you dissolve other attributes, right, it actually gives the water beast and the fire beast some sort of effect as well, right? So that's going to increase the overall team burst, right? So basically active skill number 2 here is going to dodge or recover your HP. On top of that, it's going to give you this all runes possess effects of whatever beast attribute you have in your team, and that's going to assist you in your burst, right, in cases where you want to burst during that turn and stuff like that, right? So Hasa, I'm not really a fan of Hasa because of his slow grinding and stuff like that, right? But definitely the worth is definitely worth the power release, right? If you guys are into Hasa or only can use Hasa for a grind setup, right? So definitely worth the power release as well. Alright, so the 4th card of the day would be our Light Dragon Copper Bullet, right? So this is gonna be one of my favorite artwork of the entire series, right? Copper Bullet. So let's take a look at its active skill. Right, active skill pretty much same as Hasa, have a super long CD of 12. Right, Hasa is 16, Copper Bullet is 12, but it's still a very long CD. Right, so before power release, for 1 round, dodge all attack in expense of 20% HP. Right, and then turn all runestones into enchanted runes before the beginning of the next round. Team attack times 1.5 next round. And after power release, you get 1 round, dodge all attacks from enemy, turn all runestones into enchanted dragon runestones before the beginning of the next round, and then team attack times 1.5. Right, so there's a part that I'm quite disappointed, right? Maybe they should give it like a team attack times 2 for next round, right? Just for a better burst, because it's at CD 12, right? So at least maybe give like a team attack times 2, right? But anyways, we do have enchanted dragon runestones this time, right? So typically if you are gonna use Copper Bullet, it's gonna be a dragon team, right? Unless you're bringing Copper Bullet in a light team just for its active skill to dodge a certain stage, right? So that's a different story, right? But most of the time you're gonna run a mono dragon team in which enchanted dragon runestones here is gonna deal a decent amount of damage, right? Because raised runes is better than enchanted runes, and then we're gonna get both of it, right? Enchanted dragon runes. So that's gonna assist us in dealing a heck ton of damage, right? So maybe that's how they balance it. Maybe that's why they put it team attack times 1.5 still. Alright, so let's take a look at the leader skill. So if the team consists of only dragons, dragon attack times 4 and HP times 1.25. And after power release, we get dragon attack times 5 and HP times 1.25. So basically same as Suzuko and Hasa, which have a increase multiplier of 1. Right, so of course dragon attack times 4 is already pretty much outdated, and now giving it dragon attack times 5 is gonna bring Copper Bullet back into the game. Right, so not only that, we do have a passive skill, which is similar to Suzuko, right? Passive skill if you use dual Copper Bullet. Alright, so what kind of beefy stats or skills we're gonna get when we use Leader Ally Copper Bullet? Right, so you can see on the screen here, we do have a bit of upgrade in terms of team skill as well. Monsters recovery of dragons plus 400 increase and is improved to 450, right? So that's always welcome because dragon is always low in recovery. So running copper bullet usually is like you are playing like a normal team, right? So dragons, all the dragons have a decent amount of recovery, right? So that's gonna solve the low recovery issues for dragon. Right, so on top of that, you can see that we do have if you remember how copper bullet is played, we do have a chance to dissolve a row, any row after spinning your runes. Right, so you can see here when you run dual copper bullet, the multiplier increases, right? Dragon attack times 6 for the non-power release one, and the power release one is 6.5. So that is definitely an increase there. Right, on top of that, we have HP times 1.25 to HP times 1.6. Right, so that's gonna really bulk up the amount of HP copper bullet team will have, because dragon team typically have a lot of HP, and 1.6 times is gonna make it a lot more bulkier, right? And then of course we have that within 3 seconds you can dissolve any row of runestones, right? And then we have an extra skill for the power release form, which is the more non-light runes exploded, team attack increases additionally, and so to the max for 2.2 times for 6 runestones. Basically what you want to do here is you want to dissolve the runes that have the least amount of light runes, right? The best is a row that doesn't have any light runes, right? So that's going to give you a maximum multiplier of 2.2 times for 6 non-light runes dissolve. Right, so there is one more passive skill that I am missing out in this screenshot here, which is, and that is light runes possess effect of all attributes, right? So that is massive because, as we all know, dragon, we always make use of Novalis and Ursula. So not only you can dissolve dark runes, right? For Novalis, you can actually dissolve light runes, and that's gonna incorporate damage into Novalis as well, right? So I can see copper bullet coming back into the meta, like straight back into the meta, right? So I can't wait to use copper bullet in the future battles as well, right? So with this, let's move on to the final card of this card review. Alright, and finally we are back at the dark attribute here, Sunny. Right, so Sunny here is typically like gets the same treatment as Swagder from the Descendant of the North. Right, so it is a CD3 fast convert, excluding the hard runes as a first priority. So this is always a thumbs up for metas nowadays. Right, so before power release we get 4 to 7 random runestones into Enchanted Dark, and then after power release it's also 4 to 7, but the more dragons you have in the team, right, if there are 4 or more dragons, the chance of turning 7 greatly increases. Right, so usually you won't really slot in Sunny, right, unless you're running teams like maybe Copper Bullet, like just giving an example, right? Because meta dragon teams now are like Azathoth, whereby it auto-generates dark runes from the leader and ally column, right? So usually a converter is not needed in an Azathoth team, right? So probably it's gonna be used in a maybe Copper Bullet team, right? So we'll see how it goes, but overall it's just a better active skill overall. So Sunny doesn't really have much change, right? But it's definitely a plus for dragon teams if you're gonna use Sunny as a converter, right? So we're not gonna talk about the leader skill because I doubt that players are gonna use Sunny as a leader, right? So usually a converter is gonna stick as a member, right? So we'll skip the leader part. And that's all for this card review for the 5 companion of mythical beasts, right? So it's a rather long video, right? But hopefully give some in-depth explanation on the 5 cards and some team examples along the way, right? So if you enjoy this card review, do give it a like, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.